What's happening, everybody? Good morning and welcome to episode 18 of Live from the Earth and Space Science Lab. Now, we are at one of my favorite locations here at the ESSL, the Maryland Creature Corner. And we're gonna spend some time today learning about some animals that live here in our great state of Maryland. So we're gonna start things off with an animal that freaks some people out and others think is really awesome. And that is none other than the possum or opossum. I checked with my friend Merriam-Webster and both are correct pronunciations. So we're gonna pan up and we're gonna take a look at a possum that we have on display right here. I'm gonna use my handy dandy pointer. And this is an actual possum. It's taxidermied. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Now, possums are a little scary looking, but they have these amazing prehensile tails, which are tails that they can use to wrap around tree branches and limbs to hang from. Now, the possum is North America's only marsupial. And a marsupial is an animal that has a special pouch where it can store its babies. And when we think about famous animals that have pouches for storing babies, what comes to mind? You got it, the kangaroo. So a kangaroo is also a marsupial. Now, the great thing about these possums is that they can eat up to 1,000 or 5,000 ticks throughout the course of a year. So it's really good at keeping tick populations down. People think that possums get rabies a lot, but that is actually incorrect. Possums have a really low body temperature, so low in fact, that they very, very, very rarely get the rabies virus. Another cool thing that they can do is play possum, which is one of their defenses against predators, where they essentially play dead. They roll over on their back and they pretend that they're dead. And I thought that was something that they could do on command, but that's not true. It's kind of like a fainting spell. And when it happens, but they can't control when it does. And another amazing fact about the opossum is that they are actually immune to lots of different poisonous snakes. So they do a great job of keeping poisonous snake populations under control as well. So I'm gonna show you guys a skull from a possum. They have 52 teeth and they have these really long, sharp, pointy, needle-like teeth. Pretty cool. And we're gonna look at another animal in just a couple minutes. They have these long incisors, they're omnivores, they're essentially scavengers. They do not hunt, but they will eat whatever they can come across. So that is a possum skull. Now, we were talking about the possum's ability to stay safe from poisonous snake bites, and I'm gonna share with you guys a snake that we have right here. This is a western diamondback rattlesnake. Now, it is not native to this part of Maryland. Maryland has two venomous species of snakes. It has the copperhead and the timber rattler. So this guy is not native to Maryland, but you can see it's a really great example of a rattlesnake. And down here are the rattles, and you can actually count the number of rattles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This snake would have been 6 years old. Now there's a couple ways that you can identify a poisonous snake. Poisonous snakes usually have a triangular shaped head, and these triangle points right here have their venom glands. And another way that you could tell a poisonous snake is to look at the pupils. You can't tell on this one, but a poisonous snake would have a slit for a pupil and a non-venomous snake would have a round pupil. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not getting that close to the head of a snake to tell the difference. Let's take a look and meet another really cool critter that is commonly found here in Maryland. Who knows who this guy is? You got it. This is Rocky the raccoon. Now, raccoons are very common here in Maryland, and one of the things that separates raccoons from other animal species and other mammals is their really amazing hands. They have a hand structure that looks very similar to that of a human hand. Now, they have really great tactile abilities. They can manipulate lots of different things. They are mostly nocturnal, which means they come out at night. Diurnal are animals that come out during the day. And this mask that raccoons are most famous for actually serves a purpose. And it's the reason that some athletes put black paint under their eyes. It's to absorb the sunlight if they're out during the day to reduce that glare. It's called their mask. Now, there's kind of a bit of a misnomer that raccoons wash their food. they don't actually wash their food, but there is a purpose for them putting their food in water. It's called dowsing. And what that does is it stimulates the nerve endings in their fingers, and it allows them to gain more sensory perception when they feel something. I thought that was kind of cool. All right, so Rocky Raccoon, say bye-bye. Next up, we have one of the stinkiest animals here in Maryland. This is the North American striped skunk. It is also the poorest animal because it only has 1 cent. Come on, that was awesome. All right, now skunks have a gland on their backsides. I don't want to go too far into that. And that gland emits a really nasty smelling chemical spray, okay? Now, skunks live in families. It's fairly common if you have a family of skunks that live around your house. Sometimes you can actually smell them at night. And they actually have 2 settings that they can use for that sprayer. And I'm going to show it to you. Hopefully not with the real skunk. But I have a sprayer here, and they can do one of 2 things. They can shoot a mist like that, or they can shoot a direct spray like that. Now, hopefully, no one ever gets on the receiving end of that. And not only does it smell absolutely terrible, but it actually causes a burning sensation in the eyes of predators or anybody that they're trying to protect themselves against. Now, next up, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between antlers and horns. One of the most common animals that we have here in Maryland is the white-tailed deer. And this is the skull of a white-tailed deer. Now, there's many different species of deer found all throughout North America, but the common white-tailed deer is very popular here in Maryland. And male deer can grow these really beautiful antlers, which is what we are looking at here, okay? I'm going to show you guys an example of a bull skull right here. This is a bull skull, and you can see the big horns that are coming off of this skull. Now, the difference between antlers and horns is that antlers are shed. So during the course of a year, there's a time during the year that animals that have antlers, like deer and elk and moose, will shed their antlers, okay? But animals with horns, like a bull or a Dall sheep, they keep them, and the horns grow every year. And you can actually age an animal by counting, in some different species, growth rings within the horn structure. So again, the difference between horns and antlers is that antlers are shed and horns stay put. Check this out. Here is a huge elk shed. This antler would have been attached to an elk, probably from out west. It'd be really hard to carry this around on your head. And I want to share with you guys, this is a sheep horn. You can see different structure. And this actually, you can kind of see some of the different growth rings in there. It's pretty awesome. All right, let me share with you guys just another couple of skulls. This is a skunk skull, and it's pretty similar. It's smaller, but it's similar in size and design to the possum skull that I showed you guys. All right. Here is the skull from a beaver. Look at those front teeth. Check that out. Now, beavers are a rodent, like mice and rats and squirrels, and their front teeth never stop growing, so they always have to be chewing or gnawing at things to keep those teeth filed down. That cool? All right. I'm going to show you another skull, and I want to see if you guys can guess what this is. What do you guys think that might be? Yeah, it is a snapping turtle. Now, pound for pound, snapping turtles have huge jaw muscles, and they can latch on and grab a hold of you. Never a good idea to put your hands in front of a snapping turtle. All right. Miss Lisa, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do, Adam. Merrick wants to know, what is the biggest animal we have here?
The biggest animal that we have here, we're going to pan up and show it, is a trumpeter swan, which is right above us. And It has about Merrick, it has about a 6-foot wingspan. It is absolutely enormous, and it's hanging right up here. It's pretty awesome. We also have a black bear, which is kind of hard to see, and I apologize for today's episode. The window behind us kind of washes things out. It makes it a little bit hard to see, but there's not a whole lot of options for shooting today's sample. So we have probably about a 100-pound black bear that's hanging out up in the corner over there. That's a pretty amazing animal as well. How about some other questions?
Mr. Adam, did you hunt these animals?
We didn't hunt any of these animals. Now, these are actual animals. They were alive at one time, but we have a good working relationship with the Department of Natural Resources and the Natural Resource Police. So if an animal were to get hit by a car or killed in some capacity, instead of just getting rid of it, we would take it to what's called a taxidermist, and that's somebody who can preserve the animal. So as sad as it is that these animals have died, at least we can have them on display and use them for educational purposes and for people to enjoy and learn about when they come here to the ESSL. That's a great question.
Griffin wants to know, where do snapping turtles live?
Snapping turtles are commonly found in farm ponds. They're found in some kind of stagnant water. You can see them in lakes and river systems. I saw some just the other weekend. I was hiking on the C&O Canal on the towpath and saw some really big snapping turtles in the Potomac River. So anywhere you would find any other species of turtles in Maryland, you could find big snapping turtles.
And also, Lily wants to know, do snapping turtles have teeth like sharks?
That's a good question. Snapping turtles don't have teeth like sharks, but they do have what's called a beak that is attached to the front. So here is actually what you can see. There's a sharp ridge right along here, but there's no actual teeth like you would find in many other animals. So that's a great question. It almost looks like a dinosaur skull, and turtles actually have quite a bit in common with dinosaurs as a reptile. How about another question?
Mr. Adam, have you ever seen a bear?
I figured someone was going to ask that question, so hang on a second. I actually printed out a picture. I do an annual camping trip with some friends, and this little fellow came to visit us just last year. It was probably about a 75-pound black bear. We had been fishing in the morning and came back for breakfast, and this dude was hanging out at our campsite. So we banged some pots and pans together and honked the horn on the car, and off he went. But it was a pretty exciting experience, that's for sure. How about one more question?
Carson wants to know, are bulls boys or girls or both?
A bull is a boy cow. We can look at it that way. They're males. Yep. That was a good one. Now, I will tell you that there's been several times that I've been hiking up in the Frederick watershed. There are timber rattlesnakes up there, and they are big and they are scary. And I have had several instances where I have come across some of them, and I will tell you there are few things more terrifying than be walking in the quiet woods when all of a sudden you hear that telltale rattle and you have no idea where it's coming from. So that has always been some pretty exciting hiking adventures up and through there. So do we have any more questions for today, or are we going to wrap things up for episode 18? All right. So guys, again, we love to see you. We love that you're tuning in and making this a regular event. We have a couple more episodes that we will be doing. Next Tuesday's episode, Miss Lisa has some really cool experiments that she will be doing with sound waves, I believe. And then next Thursday, we're going to get some stuff together, and we are going to do Shark Week. So again, great to see you guys. Be well, be safe, get out there, enjoy that weather, and we hope to see you soon. Take care.